This is part two discussing British Muslims. How can we understand British Muslim? What are their trends? What are uh, divisions between them? What are their sects? And I said in part one that it's important to understand history. And I started from the time of Muhammad ending at the uh, ending at Karmatis, which was a certain sect within Ismaili Shiite. So anyway, that Ismailis kingdom lasted for more than 100 years, and then one of their branches, Nazari, they managed to get a fort in Alamut in present day Iran, and they also carried out attacks against the Crusaders and Abbasid Caliph. The very word assassin came from them. And Hassan bin Sabah was one of their leaders who is highly respected among Ismailis, but the Sunnis, on the other hand, believed that he had established a sort of heaven on earth and he would give hashish to the suicide attackers of that time. These are the allegations by Sunnis that are fiercely refuted by the Ismailis, and anyhow, Mongols also, put an end to their rule. Besides putting an end to the rule of also Abbasid in 13th century. So now going back to the Umayyad, when Umayyad rule came to an end prior to the rule of the Abbasids, Abbasid, one of their princes or one of the member of the ruling family, Abdul Rahman, managed to escape to North Africa after traveling for, according to some historian, for 5 years, hiding here and there, and he managed to establish a sort of government there because there were city states as well, and he managed to establish rule there that lasted until more or less until 15th century because there were different states. So when reconquista began by the Christians, they first crusader waged a crusade in the Middle East, in Jerusalem, establishing Odessa, Antioch, and Jerusalem and other crusading states are there. And then finally, they also started fighting against the Muslim who were ruling in southern Spain and part of Portugal of that time, putting an end to finally their rule in the 15th century. And the traces, or rather the traces of Muslim rules in 15th century. So Umayyad, we had religious division like Shiite and Sunnis. Then we had uh, Arabs and non-Arabs division. So Banu Umayyad, led by mainly Arabs during the time of Banu Abbas or Abbasid, the Persian speaking were more prominent, they holding the key post. And then, of course, there were other groups like the slaves of Turkic origin, like Mamluk and others who managed to rule in the different parts of Islamic world. Like they managed to establish an empire in Egypt and Syria, but some of them were also influential during the Abbasid time. So we see three division: one on religious basis, Shiite Sunni; one on ethnic basis, uh, Persian and non-Persian, and of course then there was also tribal in a way or political Abbasid and what we call Abbasid and Banu Umayyad. But of course, then there were further division. Then Muslim conquered, Turkey in somewhere in 15th century, parts of Turkey, and then they established Ottoman Empire, spreading over parts of Asia, Europe, and perhaps some parts of North Africa as well. So they established a big empire. Again, that was not monolithic. Ottomans took support of even Christian soldiers as well. The same was the case. Like at one time, Harun Rashid, who was Abbasid Caliph, he was ready to strike a deal with Richard the Lion and Charlemagne. He was ready to strike a deal with Charlemagne against the Umayyad who were ruling in Spain. So the purpose of this all debate or this all historical background is that, like every sect, uh, there were also sect and groupings within Islam, and then within Muslim, then there was also division on the on theological matters, and four big imam or great imam emerged somewhere in the 9th and 10th century, 9th and 10th centuries, and Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, and Imam Hanbal, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, and there were those who also compiled hadith or tradition of Prophet peace be upon him somewhere in 10th centuries or 10th centuries or maybe towards the end of 9th centuries. Imam Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmizi, Ibn Majah, and then these people also had fierce differences. So then on theological ground or on the ground of Islamic jurisprudence, there is also division among Muslim, with many Muslim or maybe the vast majority of Muslim today following Imam Azam Abu Hanifa, who is considered the first Imam of the Sunnis, and then there are also Shafi, Hanbali, Maliki. So then within Hanafi school of thought, there are like Deobandis and Barelvis, and most of the people or a number of people or a significant of percentage of the people living in Middle East, they follow Imam Shafi, Malik, or Hanbali in various degrees. The same could be said about North Africa and part of Africa, where these Imams are followed, but Muslims in Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, that are the biggest centers of Muslim population, and also in Turkey and some of the former colonies of Turkey, they follow Imam Azam Abu Hanifa. Then, in terms of territory, Iran converted to Shia Islam in the 16th century. Before that, it was Sunni, although they still had differences on the basis of ethnicity, like Persian and non-Persian. So a number of Muslim scholars, even those who compiled hadith, they were Persian speaking, perhaps barring one imam. The rest of the five imam were Persian speaking. Those who compiled hadith or traditions of Prophet peace be upon him. And then Muslim rule, if you look at that, in the India we had we had Mughal Empire. Before that, we also had different sultanates or different kingdoms there. Ghoris, the Ghoris came there, and then there were also slave kings and other rulers as well. So the purpose of this debate, that the Shiite mainly concentrated in Iran, they have also significant presence in the Bahrain, where they are believed to constitute majority. The same could be said about Iraq, where they constituted majority, more than 50%. In Bahrain, also more than 50%. There are Zaydi Shiite in Yemen, who are now allied with Iran as well. There are pockets of Shiite in India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. So perhaps 90% or 80% of the, or more than 80% of Muslim world uh, consist of Sunnis, and the rest 10 to 20% you know comprise Shiite. So that is the sectarian division, and this sectarian division affected everyone and every country, every Muslim country. There are sectarian division in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, in the Middle East. So when the Muslim from different parts of the world came to the UK, they brought these divisions with them, not only religious divisions, but the divisions that were based on caste, nationality, ethnicity, and political affiliation. So we will discuss that. We will continue it and we will discuss more in part 3.